Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Little, and I'm here today with the 57th episode of Weekly Poker Hand. And today's hand is going to come from a 10,000 euro European Poker Tour event that I played recently. It's from very deep in the tournament, and it is a fun hand. But first, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about excelling at No Limit Hold'em. Since today's hand is from a high-stakes EPT event, Olivier Busquet, who is one of the authors of the book. If you are watching the video, you can see the cover of the book. If you're listening, trust me, the book has about 18 authors, and they are all very good at what they do. And Olivier Busquet's chapter talks about a lot of the hands that he plays in very high-stakes tournaments. So be sure to check out his chapter. Let me know what you think. If you want to get the book, you can go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/buyexcelling. And actually, if you want to get a free webinar from most of these authors, they'll take place sometime over the next year, go to holdembook.com, holdembook.com, and sign up there for the email list, and you will get access to all of those live webinars with all the authors. So be sure to check that out. If you like this podcast, you will love those webinars. So, for this hand, I'm waiting for it to load. The blinds are 2,000, 4,000, and I have 400,000 chips, which is a lot. And I get pocket kings under the gun. So with a big stack, I am certainly going to be raising a wider range than normal, I think, if I think the opponent's going to play somewhat straightforward against me. But pocket kings is obviously a raise. So I raised to 8,000 under the gun. It folds around to the cutoff. A player who is unknown to me, a 35-year-old guy, and he likes to call. He has 300,000. A very good, tight, aggressive player calls in the small blind. He started with 150,000. And then a loose, aggressive kid calls in the big blind. He has 250,000 to start the hand. Again, I'd strongly suggest that you watch the videos from these hands. You can watch them at jonathanlittlepoker.com under the podcast tab, because that will help you keep track of what is going on much better than, obviously, just you listening to me. But I understand that people love listening to podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. I think they are great. So if you're here on iTunes or Stitcher or any other medium, thank you for being here. The flop comes 9-9-7 with two clubs. The good, tight, aggressive player checks. The loose, aggressive kid checks. And I decided to check, which is certainly not my standard line, but I think it's a good play if you ever get the vibe that you think one of your opponents has a strong hand. And I remember sitting here at the table, and I don't quite remember exactly what the tight aggressive player did that made me think he was excited, but he was clearly playing this hand, right? He was not checked out like a lot of people get whenever they have something like 5-4 of diamonds and the flop comes 9-9-7. They're like, okay, I'm done with this hand. If you pay a lot of attention to your opponents, you will be able to see when they are suddenly unexcited. So in this hand, the small blind I thought was very excited about the hand. So I decided to check. If you think your opponent's excited about his hand, you have to ask on 9-9-7, what does he really have? So he probably either has a good draw, or he probably has a 9. And against that range, my kings are not in very good shape, so I'm happy to check and try to get closer to showdown. Of course, if he has a good draw, I'm giving him a free card, but if a club comes, I'm fairly confident that I am at least not in great shape and I can play very cautiously on the turn. And if a non-club turn comes and he checks to me, I can then probably go for value and just accept that my read was likely incorrect. So I checked. And then the cutoff, the unknown player, makes it 14,000, which is a fairly standard half-ish pot bet, maybe 40% pot bet. And then the small blind calls. And I was very unhappy at this point. So loose aggressive kid in the big blind then makes it 42,000. So to recap, on the flop, under small blind checks, big blind checks, I check. Button makes it 14K, small blind calls, and then a loose aggressive player in the big blind raises to 42,000. And this is a scenario where I have about the easiest fold in the world with pocket kings. I have king of hearts, king of diamonds, by the way. Flops 9-9-7, two clubs. And I think a lot of amateur players look at this spot and they think, well, I have kings, I'm all in. But that would be a huge error, because I can almost guarantee you one of these three players has a 9. And if somehow they don't have a 9, they almost certainly have like 10-8 of clubs or ace-king of clubs or something like that. So even then, it's not like I'm thrilled to get my money in. So I think I have to make a fairly easy fold. So I do fold. That is what happens. Cutoff folds. And then the player in the small blind goes all in for 141,000 total. And the loose aggressive player then just folds. So they give the small blind the pot. We do not get to see what anyone had in this hand, which frequently happens in poker tournaments. But it's really important that you are paying attention to your opponents. I mean, I think most people just sort of blindly make a continuation bet on this flop. And then, they lose 14,000 chips, which may not seem like a lot. But you have to realize that if a starting stack in a tournament is maybe 50,000 chips, that's like $3,000 or 3,000 euros in equity in this exact tournament. And even if you're playing a $100 tournament, you're still spewing away $33 by betting in this spot. And that is fairly huge. So make sure that you are paying attention to your opponents. If it's very clear that they like their hand, you have to be very disciplined and recognize that Pocket Kings is not the nuts when your opponent really likes his hand on 997. So that's going to be it for this week. Again, if you have not checked out my newest book, Excelling at No Limit Hold'em, go check it out. You can get it at jonathanlittlepoker.com/buyexcelling. And I will talk to you next week.